All right, we're looking at our steps to plant. My name is Mike, and I'm on the CMN team. I also started a church outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, several years ago called Focus Church, and I wanted to take you through kind of preparing for your first sermon series. One of the things that looking back at our launch that I wish I would have done, I wish I would have started our first sermon series on week 2, and simply because I think the first week needs to be all about vision, all about yourself, and all about introducing them to the church. And ultimately, by starting a sermon series on the second week, what it does is it allows people to come back for something. You can promo it on your first week and then almost like start fresh on week 2. And it just helps generate momentum. The thing about momentum is you can't buy it on Amazon. You can't go to Walmart and buy momentum. Momentum has to be fostered once it arrives. And one of the ways that we do that is by starting the sermon series on week 2 instead of starting the sermon series on week 1. So on week 1, you say, hey, everyone come back next Sunday. We're starting a brand new series called blank or on this. And I always recommend launch Sunday being a standalone message and then starting the sermon series on week 2. I think that giving them something that everyone can relate to is so important. Starting your first sermon series, the chances of everyone being excited about end times are pretty slim. The chances of people wanting to study the book of Leviticus in the early days of your church, at least contextually for us, I don't find that very helpful. One of the things that you can consider is maybe like a felt needs sermon series, something about relationships, parenting, finances from a biblical perspective, something that maybe sets culture for the church, like here's the church we want to become, introducing them to the church over the next 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. I think it's also important that the sermon series not be too long. You want to keep creating that momentum, giving them something to come back to, giving them something to invite their friends to. So when you consider your first sermon series, consider this, starting it on the second week instead of week 1, and then also something that is relevant to the majority of your audience. Now, remember what your audience is going to be when you start a church plant. They're going to be new believers or pre-Christians, people that don't believe in Jesus, or wounded people who haven't been to church in a few months because they left hurt from their previous church experience. And so think about that in context, that when you develop sermon series, especially in the early days, it needs to be something that can touch on a relevant topic for the majority of your audience. And your audience is going to be new people, new believers, or wounded or hurt Christians. And so people that are discovering church for the first time, or people that are rediscovering church after being hurt. So you might want to go into something that applies to those people, something on church hurt, something on restarting or starting over or starting from scratch. Something along those lines would really help kind of on-ramp the church to join you culturally, to get behind the vision. And I think it's so important that you think through that, especially during the first year, that the sermon series don't become so narrow, so exclusive that you exclude people that are going to be joining your church. Those will be used as marketing and as helpful tools starting the church. So just to recap, preparing for your first sermon series, I recommend allowing Launch Sunday to be a standalone sermon. And so start those on week 2. Give them something to come back to. So make it attractional, make it fun, make it exciting, make it something that they would be willing to share with their friends, a topic that would be interesting enough. And then making sure that it's not so narrow that it doesn't include those people that are coming to church for the first time or coming back to church for the first time in a long time. I hope this helps. I'll see you soon.